it's Sam. So I'm super excited because today I'm going to be putting some new brushes from Luxie to the test. I have a couple of Luxie brushes already that I use actually on a daily basis. They are the pink ones with the rose gold kind of coppery handle. I use the 522 and I actually use these for powder to like brush off my bake and then to brush off my fallout from when I do my shadow, and I love them. Now I have the full Luxie brush collection and they are all this fabulous, very sleek, very chic. They're kind of like that nice black, kind of like a matte black, and then the copper. And then the actual brushes themselves are kind of like a brown, kind of like a typical brush color. I'm going to be trying to use as many brushes as possible and I'm going to be putting them to the test and creating this look for you guys. So I'm doing kind of like a fall tutorial as well as reviewing these brushes and showing you guys what I use each specific brush for as I go. I'm just going to go ahead and show you guys each specific brush. You guys can see exactly what comes in the collection. And then we'll go ahead and get into the tutorial. Then at the end, I'm going to share my favorite brushes from this collection with you guys, as well as my thoughts on these brushes. The first one we have is the Luxie 740, and this is the finishing contour. So you can see it's a little bit more dense. It's kind of like a little bit more, almost like pinched. And then you would basically just use this for contour. I didn't actually use this one because I usually go for like a fluffier brush, but that's a great one if you really like to just use like a cream contour. That would be awesome. Then we have the Luxie 731 Buffer Foundation Brush. This one is kind of more of an angle. It fits on the face really good because it's flat. And they all have these little divots right here, which is like honestly so comfortable for your thumb. It fits right in there. Next we have the Luxie 730 Liquid Foundation Brush. Now this is great if you like to just place down your liquid foundation and then you could blend it out with a sponge if you don't like using a buffer brush for your foundation. These are also really great to put down your primers, your moisturizers, so if you don't use these specific ones for foundation, there's always a use for them. And that one's actually really nice and big, like it's quite a good size. Next we have the Angled Contour. This one would be great for having a very specific, like if you wanted to do your nose, it's kind of a little bit smaller. You could really kind of chisel in here. Again, this would be great for a cream contour as well. 737 Tapered Highlight. You will see me using this one later on in the video for my highlight. Oh my gosh, this one was bomb. It's loose enough, but still puts down a really good pigmentation. It gets your highlighter done so quick, and my highlighter is beaming today. I am so impressed with this brush. Next we have the Luxie 742 Blusher. I actually use this one for my loose setting powder, and I put this one underneath my eyes as well as like all of the places that I press my powder in to get kind of like make it look airbrushed. Amazing. So soft. All of these brushes are so soft. We have the 733 Airbrush Concealer. This one I used for the super white powder that I put underneath my eyes, and it was actually really great because it's so dense that you can really place the product down, and then whatever was extra just got buffed off when I did like my wiping for like fallout or whatever. Again, really great. Then we have the Luxie 732 Airbrush Foundation. Now, I actually use this for my foundation in this video. You guys know that I usually like a sponge. However, I was really impressed with this, and you guys will see me as I'm using it later on. Quite an impressive brush for foundation. For someone who doesn't even like brushes for their foundation, I was really impressed with that. Then we have the Luxie 703 Narrow Blending Eye. This one is a little bit more of a kind of like, it's not quite as big and fluffy. It's kind of a little bit more, you know, smaller. So that one's really great for just kind of cleaning up and kind of fluffing out any kind of extra product on your eye that you might have gotten a little carried away with. I kind of just use that for a cleanup, and then also for like softening the line underneath on your lower lash line. Then we have the 702 Tapered Blending Eye. This is the one that I actually used for my crease, and it is bomb. You will see me using that later. The Detail Flat Blender Face, this is the 738. This one is a little bit more of like just a straight up flat top, and it's like in a circular shape. This is great for the brow bone, for like really getting in there and just getting a really nice, precise, but still very like pigmented brow bone highlight. We have the 735 Powder Setting. This one I used actually for, Did I use this one for my blush? Yeah, I used this one for my blush. The reason I sniffed it is because my blush smells like Now and Laters. So this one is actually for powder, but I did it opposite because I wanted something a little bit bigger for my blush. So that one I used for my blush. Then we have the 734 Airbrush Powder. This is a great brush for stamping down your final setting powder. So I have a few different powders that I use. I have one to fill in the pores and wrinkles. I have one to brighten my under eye, and then I have one to actually set my whole makeup and put a little bit of color back down and a little bit of coverage. That is great for that. And then we have the 739 Large Angled Face. This one I actually used for my contour today. So it has that nice kind of like shorter side and then a little bit longer side. We also have the 736 Tapered Face. This is like a nice big, kind of a little bit longer, loose, fluffy brush. Then they have a small cut crease. This is the 706. You can see how it has that really sharp kind of curve. Next, we have the Flat Definer. Now this one you can actually use to do your bottom if you want to. You could use this for your cream liner. So there's a couple of different options that you can do for that. Then we also have a large cut crease. So again, this is a cut crease that has that really sharp kind of curve in there. Then we have the 700 Spoolie. Oh, I didn't even use this. I should have used this. Great spoolie though. That's a really good size. It's got a nice kind of like length, but it's still kind of fat and fluffy. Eye definer, this is the 709. So that one is really short, really tiny. You can really get in with your cream liner in the waterline with this or on the top. Crease blend, this is the 704. This one is a little bit flatter, but then you have a fluffy tip. So this one is great for packing down your color on your actual lid. Then we have the 710 Short Shader. This one is what I use for my inner corner highlight as well as blending out the bottom color for my lower lash line. And then last but not least, we have the 707 Small Angle Eye, and this would be great for your cream liner. So those are all of the brushes that come in the collection. I will leave that link down below so you guys can check out the collection for yourself. They look sleek, they're a really great design, but they are so soft. They are probably the softest brushes that I have used yet. And I can tell you right now, there will be a numerous amount of brushes here that I used in this video that I will be switching out because a lot of my brushes I've had for a really long time, they're not very soft. They're actually kind of like the one that I use for my under eyes, a little bit sharp at times, and it kind of bothers me. So there's a lot of brushes here that I will probably be updating my current brushes and switching them out for these because they're so soft and they did a really beautiful job. Currently have a set online, I'm just looking. This retail value would normally be $105, and they have a 3-piece face set for $55, and it's actually the 3 ones that are a few of my favorites, which is the concealer brush, that airbrush concealer, the powder setting, which is the one that I actually use for blush, and then the tapered highlighting. Check out these brushes. These are the Pro Tools collection, so I will leave that link down below. I'll put this specific set down below as well, but then I'll put the whole kind of collection of the Pro Tools collection down in the description box as well so you guys can check it out. So now we're gonna go ahead and get into the actual demo, kind of like first impressions / tutorial. It's kind of like a big, huge thing all into one. Hopefully this video isn't like 45 minutes long. I'll try and make it as quick as possible for you guys. And then at the end of the video, I'm gonna go ahead and share with you guys which brushes are my favorite, which ones I think that you need in your collection, and kind of just my overall thoughts. Huge shout out to Luxie for sending out this collection to me and sponsoring this video. It's always really nice when products that you actually use on a daily basis, like these, for example, I use these every day. It's really nice when the brands that you already love want to work with you. So huge thank you to Luxie. I really do appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoy. Let's go ahead and get into the demo. Okay, now you guys know I don't normally use a brush, but I am gonna give this one a go. This is the Luxie 732 Airbrush Foundation Brush. You'll notice that there's like a big dip here, and I feel like that's really nice because it's a perfect place to hold either your thumb or your pointer finger. It just makes it like really comfortable to hold. So I'm gonna go ahead and go in with my normal foundation. I do have a gigantic lip sit and a nose sit right now. I'm pretty sure that new matte concealer that I got, that I recently just reviewed, because it's amazing. Like, I love it so much, but I've been wearing it and then I started breaking out really bad. And so I'm pretty sure it's from the concealer because I haven't broken out for a really long time and I haven't switched anything up in my routine or my diet. The thing I've changed is the concealer, so Bummer in the summer. Oh, this brush is quite delightful, actually. Really easy to use. It gets the area done pretty quickly. Really comfortable to hold because I just have my thumb right here. I feel like it's big enough to cover a good area, but it's also small enough to like get right underneath the eyes and everything. And it moves really well. Like, I feel like I can really get into the crevices. Like, it's not too stiff. Like, it's stiff enough, but it's not too stiff to where I have no movement. So I like the fact that I feel like you can really like buff it into the skin. It's also a nice size to where you can stipple if you want a little bit more coverage. So like over here on my forehead. So that turned out really good, actually, guys. I'm actually quite impressed with that. I think it looks good. Okay, so next I'm gonna take the blusher brush, and I'm actually gonna use this for my under eye setting powder. And we're gonna see, the one that I usually use looks like this. So I wanna see how this does in comparison. This is the closest thing to that brush. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take my Lancome Long Time No Shine mattifying powder. I love this for under eyes, guys. It's amazing. And I'm basically just going to, oh God, it's so much softer than the one I usually use. The one I usually use kind of hurts a little bit sometimes. Oh, this is so soft. Ah, I love it. This is doing so beautifully, and it's so much more comfortable than my usual brush. So I actually will probably switch because this feels so much softer. Especially in your under eye, it's like such delicate skin there that I feel like when you use rough brushes, it just feels like you're just doing harm. Okay, that did a beautiful job of putting down the powder. Really impressed, feels super soft. Now I'm gonna go ahead and just wipe it off, and I'm gonna go back into another powder. This isn't great on the rest of my face. It's a little heavy and it doesn't do a very good job of mattifying. So it's just really good at brightening and making it really smooth under my eye. But for the rest of my face, it just didn't do very well. So I'm just taking my NARS Light Reflecting Setting Powder now. I put this everywhere that I have lines, texture, big pores. From here up, I like my face. It's only because you can put BOTOX there. But you can't BOTOX this area, I don't think. Otherwise, then you wouldn't be able to smile, which would be a bit of a situation. So, okay, this brush is way better than my normal one. I'm gonna say that right now. It's putting the powder down in such a nice way. Like, I feel like it's really getting into everything, and it's so much softer. It's just delightful. Okay, so now I'm going to take this brush. Now this is slightly different from the one I usually use under my eyes. This is a airbrush concealer brush. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix my two powders that I've been mixing lately. I do the Pretty Pink with the Super White from Ben Nye. And I love the way these look together. It just takes a little bit of the edge off of the white, but the pink really helps to brighten that under eye if you are a little dark under there. And I think what I'm going to do is just kind of like press this. Normally I buff, so I'm going to see how this works. I learned this trick from Nat and Liv, and they actually did use a brush like this where they pressed it down. I am noticing it takes up a lot more powder that way. Again, this is really soft. This one is a little bit more dense, so it's really putting quite a lot of product down. So in a sense, I suppose we're kind of like baking. Okay, so we're basically just gonna kind of let that sit. I'm gonna go into my other powder that I usually use. Now, I know I always get this a lot. Oh my God, that's so much powder. If you are dry, or even normal, you probably don't need this much powder, but I am so oily that like literally by 2 hours, my natural oils are already like melting down the powders. I never look powdery. Like, I never look powdery. If I looked powdery, it would be like a miraculous day because I'm so oily. So keep in mind that you have to go by your skin type. If you are like super dry, you do not want this much powder. But if you are really, really oily, then oily skin can handle this amount of powder, and it really just makes everything stay a lot longer because oily skin is a nightmare. Saying that this one is the Airbrush Powder Brush. This is the 734. It's a little bit more dense. So I'm just gonna go and dip into my normal powder. This is the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk, and mine is all broken into crumbs, otherwise I would show you. but it's a very delicate process at the moment. I do powder, I usually just bounce it. I would never buff or swipe. This is really soft as well. It actually looks a lot denser than it is. I was worried it was going to be too stiff, but it's actually got a good flexibility to it to where it does actually move with the face. Yeah, that's done a good job. That one's another winner. So far, all of these brushes have been bomb. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and move on to contour. This is the closest one that I have to the brush that I usually use. This is the tapered face. It's a little bit bigger than what well, is it? It's pretty close actually. A little bit longer. So we're just gonna give it a go and see how it works. So I'm just taking NARS Laguna. This might be a little looser. This could be a little bit too wiggly actually. It's not putting down a whole lot of product. They do have this large angled face, so I think I'll try this one instead. Again, this one's pretty loose. So it's doing a fine job, but I think we're getting there. It's just taking me a little bit longer. Plus I'm like to pan, so I'm having to like really wiggle it in there. But this is quite good for the nose actually, because I feel like it's a little smaller, so I can really like get in there. So I'm actually going to take the powder setting brush for my blush. I have a new blush that I'm obsessed with. Where is it? It's the new Too Faced Strawberry. This is so beautiful. It's like such a pretty color. I love it. So basically I just go back and forth into the two colors. Plus it smells really good. Like you could eat it. It's like a Laffy Taffy or something. Like the strawberry Laffy Taffy. Brush is great. Again, really soft. It's doing a good job of just putting down the color. It's a lot softer than the usual one I use. This is the Luxie 737 tapered highlighting brush. I'm gonna go ahead and take my Revolution palette and I'm gonna dip into this color right here. This is called, oh, I don't know which one this is. It's the gold one. They have a rose gold and a gold. I'm going to take this pink one down here. Oh, this brush is great. It's really like making it look airbrushed and like really buffed into the skin. But it's also, because it is so big, it's really making it really fast for me. So that's nice. Wow, look at that highlight. Boom. That's great. Oh, also, does anyone watch America's Got Talent? Because Heidi's highlight on the final was like the most amazing thing I've ever seen. It was so beautiful. Heidi is like my goals of life. Complete opposite of me. Super skinny and super tall. Okay, this brush is bomb. I'm gonna go ahead and go into something a little darker. This is the Makeup Revolution, and it's the rose gold palette. I'm gonna go into this pink one, and I'm just gonna pop that up on just above the brows, just to give a little bit of a J-Lo glow. Okay, I am gonna go ahead and bake. Okay, so for the brow bone, I think I'm gonna take the 738 Detail Flat Blender Face. I'm just gonna go back into that highlight color, and I'm just gonna pop that right underneath. It's actually quite nice because it is so flat. So it just basically, it's almost like you're just like stamping it on there. And because that angle of the brush is a little bit sharper, you can really carve out the brow. And it's dense enough to where it's really putting down a good glow, but it's not too dense to where you can't really move it. Then we have a couple of fluffy brushes. We've got 3 altogether. So we have the narrow blending eye, which is a little bit smaller at the tip. Then we have the tapered blending eye, which is a little bit more pointed and fluffy. And then we have the crease blend, which is a little flatter, but then kind of fluffy at the same time. So I think I'm gonna go into the tapered blending eye. And I have some new palettes from Mellow Cosmetics. This one is called Sinopia, and I really like that name. And it's got some really beautiful colors in here, so I think I'm gonna play with this one. The first color I'm going to take right here is Nude, and this is matte. And we're just going to put that, oh, this is soft. It's really light as well. This brush is like super lightweight. Seems to be putting down the color really nicely, but also blending really easily at the same time. Oh, they're just heaven to put on your eye. Yes, that's such a good brush. I love it. Totally fabulous. I think the next color I'm going to take is this color. I think I'm going to mix actually this brick and then the blush together. I'm going to go back and forth. This palette is literally fall in a palette for me. Such great colors. Okay, so I'm just going to deepen the crease just a little bit more. Brush basically just does your blending for you. Like, it's so easy. You really just don't have to work that hard because it's already like, oh, let me help you, girl. Okay, now I'm going to switch into that more kind of flat but still fluffy brush. Then I'm going to take Sinopia, which is right here, and then Merlot, and I'm going to go back and forth into those two shades, and then I'm just going to put that down. And it's nice when you have a brush like this because it's kind of still got that flat side, but then you still have a fluffiness to it so that you can blend it out once you start getting into that crease. But see, as I'm building it up, then you can start to kind of fluff it out a little bit and get most of the color on the lid, but then you can start to turn it and then just kind of blend it out. That first fluffy brush that I just used in the crease, I'm gonna wipe it off so that we don't have anything on the brush on a towel. And then I'm just gonna go back and forth and just blend out those lines and make sure that everything is soft and there's no harsh lines whatsoever. Because that other brush, because it's a little bit more dense, you definitely put down a little bit more color. Okay, I'm gonna go back into that blusher brush and just go back in underneath the eye, the one that I used for my powder, and I'm just gonna wipe away any fallout that I have. Okay, now I'm gonna go into this brush right here, which is a 710 short shader. So it's a little bit more dense, a little bit kind of domed and short. And I'm basically just gonna go back in to the nude and the blush, and I'm gonna pop that down underneath. Okay, I'm gonna wet it now. Just a, oh poop, just a little bit. And then I'm gonna go back into Sinopia and Merlot, the two colors that we put on the lid. I'm just taking the other fluffy brush that was clean that we never used. This is the narrow blending eye, the 703, and I'm just kind of like softening everything up, going underneath and kind of just blending that out a little bit. I pop a little bit of nude in my inner corner, or sorry, my waterline. This is the Lord & Berry eyeliner in nude. Then I'm gonna take, do we have a little tiny brush? I wonder if this will work. Yeah, I'll just use the one that we used for the bottom lash line. And I'm just gonna go into Champagne right here. And I'm just gonna pop that right into the inner corner. It's actually quite good for like getting that part. It's just a little awkward in the inner part, but it's actually doing a good job. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and do my lashes. I'm gonna put my primer and mascara on. It'll be linked down below. I'm gonna go ahead and finish my makeup and I'll come back and we'll chat a little bit more. I forgot, I need to dust off my bake. So I'm going back in with that blusher brush, which is the one I actually used for the rest of my like actual loose setting powder. And I'm just gonna buff that off. And then I'm gonna go back in with that powder setting brush, which is the one I used for my blush, and I'm just gonna go back in and just touch up. A lot of the time when I bake, I feel like it takes away some of my blush. That I am so impressed with these brushes, guys. Not only did they all do a great job of blending out and putting the product down where I wanted, but they were so unbelievably soft. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my favorites with you guys, and then that will conclude the video. For the eyes, I absolutely loved the tapered blending eye. This, oh no, was it the 70? Yes, it was the 702. That one was amazing for the crease. And then I also really loved that detail flat blender face for the brow bone. I thought that that worked really, really well. As far as the powder brushes or the face brushes go, the 742 blusher for the powder that I used was amazing. I also really loved the 737 tapered highlighting. I thought that one did such a beautiful job of putting down my highlight. And then I also really loved the powder setting brush, the 735 for my blush. I thought that one was also really, really beautiful. The airbrush powder brush, the 734, the one that I used for my powder, like all over my face, I loved. And then I was also really impressed with the 733 airbrush concealer brush. I loved the way that put my light powder down underneath my eye. Those are the ones that out of the whole collection I can definitely see myself using over and over again. So hopefully you guys found that helpful. It was kind of like a brush review and then a little mini tutorial all into one. I will go ahead and link down all of the items that I showed you guys in this video, including those brushes, but also the eyeshadow palette, what I used for my face, all of that good stuff. So definitely check the description box below. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this tutorial. You can click that notification bell that's like below my video, and then when you go to log in the next time to watch, click the bell in the right top corner of your own actual like page. And that's how you know that I've uploaded a video, because it will say right there, so-and-so has a new video, dink, and there you go. I'll see you guys in my next video. Mwah!